I don't know what it is about some taquerias, but when I order a taco, I get the American version automatically, by default. The sour cream and the lettuce and tomato, as opposed to the corn tortillas, cilantro, and onion. Well, this is fine. Not what I would expect, but carne asada, and I know it's bad form. I'm eating before my guests even get here. This right here is Con Carne. I've got carne right here. Con Carne, a Q101 podcast presented by one of my heroes, one of my favorite creators in any medium of all time, Alex Ross. AlexRossArt.com is his website where you can buy original artwork from the man who revolutionized and continues to revolutionize the comic book industry. Graphic novels, comics, Alex Ross is the best of the best. And if you haven't seen his work, well, you probably have, but may not even be aware of it, you need to check out the website, check out the original art, or visit him on YouTube. He keeps up to date there at the Alex Ross Art. So if you're watching the video, which I feel like more people are doing these days, more so than actually listening to the podcast, they're actually watching the video. Cool. If you are watching, here's a little bit more about what Alex Ross is all about.
It's Con Carne. Let's eat in the car. It's Con Carne. And now here's the star of our show, James Van Alstyne.
I can hardly believe it. Here we are again. Another picture-perfect day as I'm recording this. It was mid-70s all day, no clouds, all sun, just perfect weather. I am thrilled that the seasons have changed, which means lots more to do outside. Let's start with Ravinia. Ravinia season is upon us. I was talking with a friend today whose mind was blown by the idea that the Violent Femmes are doing an album play at Ravinia, and they're doing it with the accompaniment of the Chicago Philharmonic. The first Violent Femmes album, Gone Daddy Gone, Blister in the Sun, Kiss Off, done with the Philharmonic. I can't wrap my head around how cool that's going to be. That's one of the shows in this summer season at Ravinia, and that show happening end of June. Robert Plant and Alison Krauss are coming on June 12th. There's so much going on, and as you know, Ravinia, speaking of the outdoors, great place to bring a picnic. What you may not know is you don't need to transport all your picnic stuff with you. You can go to Ravinia, prepare your stuff, and you can rent tables and chairs just to make going to Ravinia a little bit easier. That stuff is waiting for you at Ravinia. Check out the full schedule, check out the details, ravinia.org. Now, before Ravinia season starts, let's get outside together. You and me, for real, let's do this. It's the Fight for Air Climb, something I'm doing with the American Lung Association to raise money. We need your help to fight lung disease. And we're going to take on the stairs of Soldier Field on Sunday, May 19th as a team. We're going to do this together. I need your help fundraising. Let's jump in. Let's raise some money. Let's do something fun, healthy, good, for a good cause. The Fight for Air Climb, May 19th at Soldier Field. Here's how you get involved. Go to fightforairclimb.org/Chicago. And once you're there, look up, register as a team, and then search for Con Carne so you can be part of my team. I encourage you to do that. Certainly you can start your own team if you want. We just want you to support the cause. Fightforairclimb.org/Chicago. Take $10 off using my promo code Carne, CARNE, at checkout. May 19th, Fight for Air Climb. I will see you on the stairs. So I'm thinking about when I leave here, when I'm done recording tonight, as I return to my home. It would be nice if when I pulled into the garage, the light automatically came on. It would be nice if when I walked out of the garage into my home, the kitchen light turned on, and maybe a Spotify playlist kicked in. Maybe playing some bands that I've had on Con Carne recently. Maybe it would play Frico or Deep Tunnel Project or Her Head's on Fire, who I'm talking to tonight. That's what smart living is all about, and it's really easy to turn the corner and transform your home into a smart home. In fact, I'm going to call my friend Dan at Easy Automation. I need him to set me down the path of turning my home into a smart home. Dan's phone number, pulled straight from my phone, 630-730-3728, 630-730-3728. Dan will help you with a no-strings-attached, totally hassle-free quote, and he'll give you the details. So what does it mean to make your home a smart home? Dan's your guy. Easy Automation. You can call him directly, or if you're scared of talking to other people, Dan's the most welcoming guy in the world. You can't be scared of Dan. But if you are, you can go to Dan's website, easy-automation.net.
Your legs start to hurt, because you're not like in a crouch position, but it's like your knees are bent, and it's like, oh, I haven't worked that muscle. So just like skating down the street, I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, all right.
I was moving stuff in my house from the living room to the upstairs, and it required probably 15, 20 trips up and down the stairs.
Yeah, that adds up.
I felt like I was enfeebled. Like, I can't believe how uncomfortable my shins, my thighs, my calves were. I'm not cut out for this exercise thing, especially at my advanced age. I'm done.
Yeah, your body. Yeah,
I'm ready for the sedentary life of eating tacos in a car with the band.
I mean, it doesn't suck.
It doesn't suck.
It doesn't suck. I feel like we earned this.
We did. We did. We have a lifetime of earnings leading up to this moment.
I mean, these better be some good tacos.
So here we begin.
Yeah.
Her Head's on Fire is a quartet, of which we have 50% of the band. A quartet serving up heart-seeking post-hardcore and emotive rock. Is that accurate?
Sure.
Who wrote that?
Not I.
Was that might have been our singer Joseph.
He's
that
a bit
wrote
of a
that.
wordsmith.
It's you write press releases, and like to some degree, I'm of the school where it's like, yeah, you want to communicate information. It has a purpose, but I'm also of like the Bob Dylan myth making thing. Like it doesn't all have to be true. It just kind of has to get you interested.
That's right.
And it's gonna say something about your personality, right? Like the more you don't want to be outrageous and force it, but I've as a student perhaps of music and all the ephemera around music, I look at enough band press shots where I'm like, I don't want to do that. That's corny, And so these are things that are cycling through my head where it's like, all right, well, we got to have a press photo so that people know that we have a face. It's like you got to.
We're not AI.
Yeah, right. And so you make press releases, and I've written press releases for my own bands before, and it's like, all right, I know what I like. Well, it's not really I know what I like. I know what I don't like. You start from there.
Which I argue is more important than knowing what you like.
Yeah, because then I feel like then you can kind of find what you like. Then it's almost more open that way, and maybe that's the kind of punk thing where it's like there's a contrarian nature. I'm being like, no to that. Anything else? Sure. So you write a press release. I hate it when it's like, it's hard to come up with an example, but like I have another cover band, and so I read cover band bios where they're like, oh yeah, Jeff Dean has played a lot in the circuit of the best Jimmy Buffett bands in the tri-state area, and it's like
that's actually true,
and it's
factual, right?
And then but then it's like the bio is like, it's like I don't need to know the finite details of what this 40-year-old man did in between high school and their their class ring.
Yeah, it's not LinkedIn. We can skip that.
Yeah,
Punk rock LinkedIn.
If I read a bio and it's got a sense of humor and there's something self-deprecating about it, but yeah, all right. Is it soul? Is it loud guitar music? Like, yeah, that it's helpful to know. But like other than that, give me some mystery. Give me some real weird.
I agree with that. And I buried the lead. You are Jeff Dean to my right. In the back, using the word ephemera properly, it is Rodrigo of Her Head's on Fire.
Yep.
Jeff Dean on guitar, Rodrigo on bass. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining.
No problem.
Thanks for having us.
We are in.
You had me at tacos. So.
Well, we are in Skokie, Illinois, a bucolic suburb of Chicago, outside the TBK Grill. Now, TBK stands for Taco Burrito King.
Oh,
Classic.
Now, this is such a weird restaurant location. It's in between 4 streets, basically. It's like a corner that really should have just been like a public park.
it really should have.
But they turned it into a restaurant with a parking lot. They've somehow maximized the space. This is like one of those tiny house sort of situations here. They managed to get a restaurant here. What I've never understood, and this location's been up for maybe 4 years. I think it was pre-pandemic or maybe during the pandemic. The point is, it's a Taco Burrito King restaurant. From a straight like marketing and branding perspective, wouldn't you pull that name through to this location so that people knew what it was?
Well,
I feel like they've been struggling without that connection.
they put grill after it, so it's elevated.
Yeah. There's nothing else. You got
but
veggie
grill makes
tacos.
it nondescript. I mean, I feel like
Yes.
I've driven by here and it's like a grill. There's
Yeah.
tons of those. But kings? How many kings? Like, what kingdom are we talking here?
Right.
You know,
Taco
are
kingdom.
there? A taco kingdom? All right, sign me up.
Well, I mean,
I'd like to get to know this monarchy.
I've spent many a drunk late Chicago night
As
in
many
line
have,
at
yeah.
TBK to get quesadillas at like 2 a.m.
Yeah.
Something about grill makes me feel like I shouldn't be here drunk.
No. Grill is tablecloth kind of place.
It's total tablecloth.
So I'm here with HHOF at TBK Grill. I'm JVO. Like, at some point, you need to acknowledge who you are.
Speak it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
Say it out loud.
And-
I am the taco burrito king. Own it.
I feel like they'd be printing money. I mean, we're all kind of
Am I
central.
allowed to eat this taco? We keep talking about all the tacos.
Absolutely not. No.
No? All right.
Just to look at. It's
It's just like the...
You,
it was
you
all a
get,
ploy.
you get 5 points for every successful answer you give on this interview.
Okay.
And once you hit 20 points, you're allowed to eat your taco.
Shit.
Eat your taco. Eat your
All
veggie
right,
taco
I'm going in.
before it
Going in
gets
for a bite.
colder. So how is the veggie? Or you're both eating
It's
veggie?
actually fantastic.
Oh, yeah? All right, let's take
It's on point with the regular TBK. I'm feeling it.
Yeah. See, they just need to embrace who they are.
Embrace who you are. Exactly. Know thyself.
If we've learned anything in these internet days and post-pandemic, authenticity is everything. If you are the Taco Burrito King, put that crown on. Wave that scepter. Put on the robe.
Raise the flag.
2 a.m. I might declare myself the Taco Burrito King.
So the new album, Strange Desires,
Yes.
is available for streaming and consumption on the 17th of May. We're recording this in early May. It is the follow-up to College Rock and Clove Cigarettes.
Yeah.
I guess the first question is, what's changed? What's evolved? How is this approach different from before?
Well, we didn't have to make this record through a pandemic, so that made things a little bit more manageable.
Because were you all just like digitally and remotely sharing files and going back and
I
forth?
mean, we still do a good chunk of that just because Joseph and Jeff, our drummer, they both live in New York City, and Rodrigo and I live here. So writing tends to be done via invisible waves a lot. But during the pandemic, trying to figure out how to get into a studio and manage it responsibly was really a real task. We made the first album. We did the drums and bass here in Chicago at the Echo Mill, which is a studio that I work out of. Then I did my guitar tracks at Rancho Recorder in Michigan with Mark Hudson. Then I took all of that and then flew to New York and rented a studio in Queens, the Buddy Project, and tracked Joseph's vocals there.
I'm exhausted just listening to that.
And then brought it all back and then mixed it here in Chicago.
It's a journey. It was a I will say this though, contrary to the other aspects of like working in the pandemic and the isolation, the writing part for that first record, we actually did more of that together.
Yeah.
Whereas the second one, we actually did more of the writing remotely in this almost sort of like I'm going to veer off track, but I'm going to bring it back. We almost did like this where everyone's a Paul McCartney kind of thing, where Jeff had these songs, and he sent out the tracks. He sent them to the drummer first, and Jeff Gensterbloom the drummer.
There should be a Jeff off. To
There,
determine
yeah,
who-
there's too many J's in
Yeah.
this band. I'm definitely outnumbered.
Yeah.
who deserves the right to be Jeff the most.
It's going to be a fight to the
Ooh, that's
fight
a
to the
toss-up.
finish.
That is a toss-up.
I demanded Jeff off. All right, sorry, Rodrigo.
So he sends the tracks to Gensterbloom, who I think he's just getting like just raw guitar tracks, maybe do a click, and
Yeah, I just
and
put
he's
like
just,
a single guitar track to a click and,
and
send
he's
it to
just
him.
making sense in his mind of rhythmically. Oh, some riffs are obvious, and other riffs it's like I'm going to make something up. So he lays down some drum demos to just those raw guitar tracks. Then Joseph Grillo gets those tracks, and he just starts writing top lines. He just starts writing hooks and lyrics and melodies to that. No bass at this point. I get all this stuff at Jeff's house, and I'm, I went over to Jeff's place for some writing sessions. Some of the stuff I would hear for the first time, which was basically like a finished demo with no bass. And whereas on the first record, we kind of hashed some of these things out in person in rehearsal spaces. This, I'm like essentially hearing a finished song that just needs bass. But in many ways, I think that gave everyone freedom to do the best version of themselves. And so when I got these basically finished tracks, I was like, oh, okay, like I can hear and see exactly where I fit in. Where are the points where the bass is going to have impact if it pulls out, if it drops in. It gave me a lot of leeway to almost take my funny music composition jazz background in these punk songs and be like, oh, Jeff is playing these chords that he thinks are this chord. I'm going to change the chord. I'm going to flip the script here. And it actually ends up being really cool because I already had vocal melodies. So I knew where I could fit in that space and bring things to a weird place or bring things to just like, all right, well, this is just dumb and heavy. And that's just what it needs to be. So for me, it was a very refreshing way to work. Very like low key even, where it's like we don't even have to be together. We just trust each other.
And I mean,
to just do the thing, and then I show up and I'm like, all right, great. I'm going to take this to even weirder places.
It's definitely interesting having the bass be the last item in the soup.
I'm going to ask a question that's probably a dumb question, but I'm not a musician. When I hear about the songwriting process, I just assume that the drum and bass players are like, they're the battery, they're the pitcher and the catcher, like they work together.
Who drive the bus? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, usually
in recording, when you're recording, you want to build the foundation from the ground up.
Yeah, when you're
start with
actually in the studio together, to me, bass and drums should be tracking everything together at once. That way, if they're moving, even if you're playing to a metronome, they're moving together, they're flowing. You know what I mean? I think that's like imperative in making a record. But from a writing standpoint, it's always been, for the most part, for me, it's like, okay, I have this song. Everyone's input is welcome, but everyone kind of like gets together in a room, sorts it out, like kind of on the fly, and then the vocals usually come last. That's how it's always been for me, like in a band situation. So to have the bass come in last with like the ideas has been really amazing to watch, because like Rodrigo's saying, he's like, where he's fitting things in around what the vocal melodies are has been fucking awesome to see materialize. It's just like,
it was a lot of fun.
There's like a lot of unexpected and clever things that I'm like, that's never what I thought would have went there, but it works because it's playing around all these other things,
So if I'm hearing you correctly, Rodrigo is the MVP.
I mean, honestly,
let's just go ahead and say that.
I will say it. Yes, I think Rodrigo's the MVP.
In a land of taco burrito princess,
he earned that taco tonight.
I'm the king.
It all came back to earning that taco.
Yes. Oh, yeah. He answered all the questions correctly. You go ahead and eat.
I mean, he's not wrong with the first record, because it was like we started playing in 2019, or at least started getting together, and so him and I would fly out to New York, usually like once a month, sometimes twice a month.
Workshop.
And just get together and jam. And then
that's a process, it's a fun process. Again, I think it's credit to just the personnel that, like, I've been in bands and I've worked with singer-songwriters, and I've kind of adopted so many different processes for writing a song, Whereas it's like if I have a singer-songwriter, they have the song.
Right.
They have the lyrics, they have everything, and then it's up to me and the rhythm section and the other players to sort of figure out an arrangement how to make this impactful. But in this, there was a lot of just trust. It's like, all right,
There's a lot of trust.
I know that Jeff, you can't. This guy can't be stopped. we tried, but
we go way back, Rodrigo and I. We've
yeah.
known each other since the mid-'90s. So.
Well, to be fair, I can't believe that I actually have Jeff Dean in the car, just knowing how much shit you do.
Yeah.
And how busy you are. I mean, the fact that we got you here on a Wednesday night, I think, is nothing short of remarkable.
Yeah. Yeah. I say if you live in Chicago, if you're peripherally involved with music, like you will be in a band with Jeff Dean at some point. So your time will come. Your time will come.
You're either going to be in Pigface or you're going to work with Jeff Dean.
Yes. Yeah.
You only have two options in Chicago.
That's the only
That's
way
what you get.
Yeah.
It's funny, like as I'm talking to Jeff, I'm like, okay, which band did he represent when I interviewed him before? Okay, that was Airstream Futures. Now, I just interviewed a band that he's part of 2 weeks ago. He couldn't make that one. Like, there's like this whole org chart of Jeff's life that you have to kind of sift through.
Yeah, it's like there's like a conspiracy theory sort of map there.
I just like staying busy and playing music and writing.
That's the American dream. Like you're doing what you love.
God. I don't know if it's the dream, but it's it's for life. So I mean, what are you going to do?
I think for us, it's a compulsion. You could describe it as a dream. You could describe it as a nightmare sometimes.
But I get it. Like
it's like it just has to happen.
What you're part of right now is a compulsion. Like I spend more time than is reasonable working on this because this is how I let my creative energy out.
Yeah.
Same thing. Like I don't do it. It's nice when I can make money from it. It's nice when people pay attention to it. But at the end of the day, I'm doing this because I love doing it, and I can't imagine not doing it. And it's the same for you guys as musicians.
We're humans. We have to express ourselves, and we have to, let out a little scream as this wet rock hurtles through space.
Yeah.
Until the final judgment day or whatever.
I don't know, man. It's like music's wild. It's beautiful, but it's nuts. I don't know. It's like the fucking ocean, man. You know what? I'm serious. It's like you're in it, and it's magical, and it's vast, and it's great, but it'll pummel the shit out of you.
That's
but
funny.
If you stay in it, I mean,
you're talking
great
about
things can happen, I guess,
You're talking about interviewing like kids in high school, and I remember playing a radio show, and it was with this singer-songwriter from Chicago, Cameron McGill.
Yeah.
And we played this radio show, and the next band that was up in the radio show were like way younger than us, and we had been.
How long ago was this?
At least a decade ago.
Okay.
And as we're like packing up our stuff, like we're rushing off to the gig that's like still an hour away, and like we haven't gotten sleep, and we're broke, and we're kind of joking, but like half joking. We're like, all right, good luck, kids. And they're they're like all bright eyed and eager, and we're like, get dental insurance. Good luck. Like, this is gonna be you, just broke.
But I feel like everyone who's done something creative has received those messages. I remember I went to Columbia College for radio, and back in the day, there were radio classes, and there was a department, and people were interested in going into radio. I bet there's no such thing in the present day. Maybe there's a podcast department. I don't know at Columbia. But I remember every instructor saying, good luck if this is what you want to do. Get used to the idea of moving to Duluth and doing country radio at 2 a.m, playing stuff you don't like. But I feel like sometimes the grizzled old voices are inspirational. Like, okay, I'm not going to be that person. Fuck you. I'm going to find a way to not be that person.
Yeah.
That was my approach. Like, no, I don't accept that.
No, find your joy. Yeah, don't accept that. Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. I fell in love with playing guitar, and I like traveling, and I like meeting people and seeing things that I never thought I would ever see, and so.
Well, let me ask you about that. I mean, you guys clearly have locked into a cool, creative groove with the new album. The challenge is playing, since you're not all centralized.
It's it's funny, like, and this is where the trust stuff comes in. Like, usually, I mean, we play fairly often. We just haven't played Chicago really at all. We did one Riot Fest
Do
after
you need
show.
some talent buyer names? I can help you.
Maybe.
Well, we did one Riot Fest after show with Jay Robbins at, I think it was at Liars, but I think that was like 2 years ago. Everything else we've done has just all been like East Coast stuff, just because, I mean, the distances aren't as far. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, we can fly out for 4 days and hit 4 shows.
Right.
Yeah,
Come
East-
back.
yep.
You know, so it's just made sense. And I mean,
The East Coast geography is different.
I mean, we've all been in, the 4 of us have all been in a lot of bands, and
Try to do it more intentionally than when we were in college. It's like, all right,
Yeah.
let's head in this direction.
Right, because once you go west of the Mississippi River, to your point, all the major cities are like days apart.
Yep.
yeah.
8 hours apart. Yep.
And I mean, don't get me wrong, I want to get to the West Coast to play and back to the Midwest as soon as we can. It's just
The economics are tough.
it just makes
Yep.
more sense
Yeah.
for us to do stuff out east, you know? So, but back to what I was going to say, it's like the trust aspect that, Rodrigo had brought up before. We usually don't even rehearse before we play a show. We just show up and play.
We've played more shows than we've rehearsed.
Yeah, true fact.
Because we know how to do this.
Yeah.
And this is, I mean, we're tooting our own horn here. It's like we're good. Like
Well,
Yeah.
we've been around. We everyone shows up prepared, and it's like, all right, let's rock the gig. And yeah, I'm not gonna pretend that we're like, I guess I don't even know what band is like has a reputation for being super precise. We're not like the Steely Dan of punk rock.
Yeah,
here.
you're not King Crimson.
No.
Yeah.
But like we the songs play to our strengths, and so when we show up, we rehearse. Maybe once there's been shows where it's like, all right, we just show. We don't even play our gear.
Yeah.
That's where we're at. Where it's like I know how to. I show up with my bass, but I know how to dial in an amp. I know how to make whatever amp you have sound pretty good. And Jeff, his guitar is gonna sound like him. Jeff G knows how to hit any drum and
Yeah.
make it sound great.
Yeah.
And that's the, to me, Jeff G is I gotta give him a shout out, because
Absolutely.
drummers of all musicians, it's really how they hit the drums. And he shows up, he'll play any kit and it sounds awesome. And like the next band whose drum kit, it belongs to them. And if their drummer is not up to snuff on Jeff G's level, which is
You
rare,
are.
yeah, it's like, oh yeah, that guy sounds like ass.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, he is the primary Jeff.
Oh man, I'm going down some rungs today.
He's Jeff Alpha.
He's Alpha Jeff. Uh-oh.
Oh, you know what? That's fine. That's fine.
But to what you're saying, or to your point,
I'm the third J.
you're freaking Jeff Dean. Come on now.
Oh.
To your point, I like a little edge to my live performances as a fan.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to see I want to see a band that knows what the fuck they're doing, but I don't need it to be overly polished.
No.
I like that sense that things could go in a different direction at any minute.
Yeah.
Like that's thrilling. I don't want to see a show that has been researched on setlist.fm and I know every song that's coming up and I know every move. Case in point,
lame.
very, very different example, but I remember I went to both Foo Fighters shows at Wrigley Field a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Same set list both nights, same stage banter both nights, the same stories being told. I thought that's not rock and roll to me.
No. Yeah.
That kind of like Vegas approach.
Yeah, that's a different kind of show.
Oh,
Yeah.
for sure. But
That's not.
the point
That's
is
different.
I like
Yeah.
I like shows where there's not that predictability, where I feel like I'm connected to the band for real.
Give me danger.
Yeah, give me danger.
Give me
I mean,
danger.
it wouldn't function in our band if there wasn't that level of trust. And it's like, and that's why we're able to operate it with half of us being here and half of us being there. It's like everybody knows what they're bringing to the table. Everybody can rely on what everybody says. Like, it functions. It's actually probably the most functional band I've ever been in. Mm-hmm. And which is ironic,
Yeah.
In
that way, yeah, it functions quite well.
And so, I mean, and that extends into making these records too. It's like the fact that we don't get like a lot of time to rehearse or anything. It's like everyone just shows up and does their thing, you know.
Yep.
And it just comes back to that level of trust.
So the first song we've heard from the new album, again, the new album out on the 17th of May, Strange Desires, Why Are We Alone?
Yes.
Talk a little bit about that, because this is one people can hear right now.
It's, personally for me, it's my favorite song from the record. It just, sometimes songs just jump out, you know what I mean? And it's like, sometimes it takes you a little while to write something, or you write a riff and then you sit on it for like a month and then maybe kind of loosely put it together over time, and sometimes they just burst out of you. And that song was one of those songs. Like, I just stumbled on it, and it was like within 5 minutes I had the guitars written. And I just remember I just knew there was something about it, and I was super excited about it. And I messaged Joseph immediately. I'm like, I wrote this new song. I'm so stoked about it. And then I ended up putting together just like some shitty drums and Pro Tools and laid it down and sent it to Joseph. I'm like, this is like the general direction. You know, I know Rodrigo and Jeff are going to do their thing, but I just want you to have something to listen to that maybe you can write to. And it was like 30 minutes later, he sent me back a demo with vocals. He's like, I already got it, dude.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, okay. And so then when we actually started putting the demo together, like the way that Jeff ended up playing drums to it was just so like in the pocket. And then when Rodrigo showed up at my house to like put bass down on the demo, I was just like floored like where the bass lines were sitting and where everything was coming together. And
everything just locked into place for
It's
you.
just one of those songs for me, you know. I mean, it might not be the other guys' favorite song on the record, but I just knew there was something special about that song when it materialized.
Hey, are you feeling that, Rodrigo?
It's hard for me to pick a favorite, but I'll say that one represents a lot of how we work together, and that it's just very instinctual. Like, you know, like I mean, these parts of this stuff is like lore about the song that I don't even know yet, which is like, I didn't know that Grillo wrote back to you in like half an hour, with like the top line, because I think his hook is great, the lyrics are great, but it speaks to how we operate, which is just very instinctual. It's like, we don't need to overthink this.
Partnered up in hell.
Just feel it, yeah.
And you know, I mean, a lot of the, you know, like the
That's right.
the sauce for the sorry, I hit the mic. A lot of the sauce for the songs materialized in the studio too. You know, we had everything. We played it live at a couple different shows before we actually recorded the record, and then all these like ideas just started like hitting in the studio. Guitar, like extra guitar riffs, extra vocal things, you know, and it just was very, very organic with a lot of that stuff, you know.
It's what's fun about this is that a lot of times we just get to say yes, which in the creative process, I've been in these creative processes where it's like, all right, someone has a good idea, and instead of everyone trying it out, everyone gets their analytical mind in, and it's like, oh, well, I don't know if that'll work. It's like, I don't know, just try it, just listen to it. And with this, it's just like, all right, great, I don't need to overthink it, that feels good, and we can trust that in each other, and then just move on. And it's like, all right, great, song done.
You found the right people to play with, clearly.
Yeah.
Because we've heard plenty of stories. We've lived through these situations where you reach that point of diminishing returns when things are overthought and overwrought.
Yep.
And I like your approach. Like when you're with the right people, when you know.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think we had the right people in place making this record too. Like I recorded everything on the first one except like the actual guitar stuff, because I just wanted to focus on playing. And I mean, I did all the recording on this one, but we had John Agnello mix this one, which was pretty awesome. And we actually had Jason Narducci come in. I would say it's more remote, but like he helped with like some like loose producing stuff for the record too.
And do you go back with Jason? I feel like everyone knows Jason.
Yeah, I mean, I know him from like, you know, from years ago, and All Eyes West, my old band, we did shows with Bob Mould and stuff. So I mean, it's Chicago's small, man. Everyone knows everybody, dude.
Yeah, ultimately.
I was having a similar conversation recently. As you age, which we all are aging, what I find really fun and wonderful is when people bounce back into your life. It's not necessarily for a long term, but here's this person who I encountered, 10, 15 years ago, they're back in my life for a minute or two, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
I haven't seen you in person since probably, when did you play Riot? 2021?
I think so. I think that's...
So it's been 3 years since I've seen you.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But how great it is that you're back and we're able to have a conversation in person.
I love that.
I love that too. And to your point, like, everyone kind of knows each other, and it's wonderful. Like, you can't hang out with everyone all the time, but it's wonderful when you get the chance to do it.
I mean, I've always felt like Chicago's kind of magical in that way. Like, the very first time I ever came to Chicago in, like, 96, like, I remember going to, like, playing Fireside Bowl and being like, okay, there's, like, 40-year-olds here.
Lifers.
But then there's, like, 15-year-olds.
Yeah.
And then, you know, us, we're, like, in our early 20s, and I'm like, this is so cool that just people hang out and go to shows. I've just always felt like there's, like, a unique element to this city like that, where it's like people are just around, like, they don't necessarily, like, completely check out, you know?
Oh, for sure.
Which is awesome.
But you've raised an interesting point. It's something I think about a lot, thinking about the Fireside Bowl. All ages opportunities for bands, for fans, were abundant back in 96 when you came here.
Yeah, absolutely.
They are not abundant anymore. Nope. And I feel like we, as a cultural hub, are poorer for that.
I agree.
I gotta think that there's, like, just underground stuff that we just don't know because it's not out of necessity. Yeah.
There's
There's got to be house shows happening. There's got to be, like, DIY spots that, just for the fact of, like, being a little bit older, that we just don't know about.
For sure.
You know what I mean? It has to be happening.
There are, and because I share studio space with, like, some guys that are into it, over it, and Sincere Engineer, some of those guys have been tapped into that scene, but I think it's difficult as a 40-year-old something person, where the Fireside Bowl is just like, it's the Fireside Bowl. Anyone can show up. It's an all ages show. They have cool shows. They were mad.
Like, we showed up to, like, some DIY space. They would think we were the cops trying to break it up.
Right. It's like,
everyone be cool.
Yeah,
be cool.
Hide your drinks,
it's
man.
like I need an ambassador, you know. and that's the thing that I think is tough, and kind of speaks to the point of, like, people popping in and out of the scene, or whatever you want to call it, or in of our musical lives and of our musical practice. That you know, as adults, as grown-ups with kids and mortgages, it's like we can't be at every show. You know, and this is the luxury. And if there are, like, 20-year-old kids or 30-something-year-old kids, like, you know, try to go out as much as you can. You know, support each other, because it's harder when you get older. And, man, I would love to show up at a basement show and, like, see some weird ass stuff.
100%.
Some kids,
absolutely.
You know,
with
with a drum machine and just making noise with a guitar. Like, I want that in my life. But it's hard, you know. Like, I mean, I'm just running out from, you know, making dinner for my daughter, and, like, running over here to have some king food.
The king of tacos.
You're here to sup with the king.
Yeah, and you know, but it's like it's harder to get out.
Oh yeah.
And but every community needs it. We need, I think, the cities that don't have spaces for bands at every level.
Yeah.
And that aren't open to every level of the public, and that exist outside of the sort of normal, you know, it's a bar that has music, infrastructure is good. You got to have those weird spaces.
I agree.
You got to have those weird spaces. That's where the weird stuff happens, and the weird stuff is exciting, you know? You need that.
I totally agree. I'm so glad we met tonight.
Yeah, me too.
Well, I meant me and Rodrigo.
Oh, I thought you meant, like, met up.
No, I'm delighted that we got together, Jeff, but I'm glad I met Rodrigo. I mean, it seems like we're all kind of...
He's magic.
Yeah, kindred spirits here. All right, so Her Head's on Fire, the new album Strange Desires, out on May 17th. You heard a lot of background. Hear the album in its entirety. Stream it. Stream the shit out of it. Available on physical media?
Yeah. It'll
coming soon, yep.
Yeah, in July. You can pre-order the vinyl from Iodine Records right now, and it'll be out in the world in July.
Yeah. Looks cool.
And that's a great way to support local, any independent artist.
I mean, records are just fucking cool.
You gotta have
records
physical
are just
stuff.
Fucking cool.
Streaming. I mean, you know, there's a whole other discussion to be having about the economics of streaming and diminishing returns. But the thing that I think older people realize is that streaming changes faster than physical media. Spotify hasn't been around for that long.
Exactly right.
It hasn't been around. It seems monolithic now, but it hasn't been around for that long. The CDs lasted longer than Spotify has existed.
Right.
And one day Spotify will be gone.
That is true of every digital platform. See also MySpace. See, I mean, all these things that you invest all this time, energy, and creativity into. And yeah,
that's why having a physical, tangible item is important. It's like, it's yours.
Yep. Yeah.
And I grew up as a collector, like not one of those crazy fanatical collectors who worries about things like condition and pressings. I just like amassing stuff I enjoy.
Yeah.
And I was having this conversation. I was at a record store last night, and I'm a big believer that what you collect should be consumed. Like I collect comic books too.
Yeah.
And I'm not someone who would ever like slab his comic books, pay to have them like hermetically sealed with a grade. Like,
yeah.
To me, they're meant to. Yeah. You're right. To me, they're meant to be read. Same thing with vinyl. Like
Absolutely.
Play it, listen to it.
It looks awesome. Having shelves of vinyl looks cool. Having it like a library. But yeah, I love pulling out records all day long while I'm working.
I feel that same way about musical instruments. It's like it's gotten to a point with a lot of things where it's like highly collectible, or people view these things as investments. And I'm like, dude, they're made to be played.
Yes,
they're
that's
made
it.
to be created on.
Yeah.
They're made to influence your life.
Yeah.
And add to it.
I mean, even libraries are for checking out books.
Yeah.
And checking out other things. I mean, my partner works in libraries, so like there are libraries that will rent instruments and all sorts of interesting things.
Digital things. I was at the library. I go to the library once or twice a week. No joke. Like I was looking at electronic stuff. I'm like, should I experiment with a GoPro in addition to the Mevo that I currently use? I can borrow one from the library.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy.
Yeah. I borrowed a hedge trimmer from the Chicago Tool Library. Yeah, there's a tool library. Yeah. It's like I don't need to buy a hedge trimmer. I can just borrow one for the week. Great. Cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
All right. Her Head's on Fire. New release on the 17th. Jeff, Rodrigo, thank you for meeting me at the castle over here at TBK Grill. And
pay respects.
Pay respects.
We do also have some tour stuff coming up, too.
Oh, okay. Tell me about that.
You got those dates? You want to drop those?
We are touring the East Coast to Pooza Fest starting May 15th. And then we are touring the UK June 3rd through the 11th, I think it is.
Sure.
Yeah, something like that.
So things are revving up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're putting in the work.
Yeah.
We're getting out there.
We want people to hear this record.
What about Chicago?
Hopefully soon.
Yeah. Which is funny. We're playing, I think, on the East Coast, we're playing with Kalimasi. We're playing 2 days with Kalimasi.
Yeah.
So go figure. Yeah.
If you can't be in Chicago, bring Chicago to you.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, Chicago's always with you.
Always. Guys, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for tacos.